Hello, entrepreneurs, dreamers, business owners, and happy people with high hopes. Welcome to Cashflows with your host, Cash Matthews.
All right. Hello, Tulsa. Hello, happy people. Welcome to Cashflows. We're coming to you live-ish from Tulsa, Oklahoma, here at 91st and Sheridan at the Elevate Coworking. Is it a co-op?
Coworking, yeah.
Coworking?
Coworking
Okay.
office.
We are glad to be here today. This show is called Cashflows. My name's Cash Matthews, and we put this show together to talk to people that are doing things in the world that the rest of the world might get a little glimpse of how things might possibly work.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to promote the good way of life, and so we'll talk about money and finances and entrepreneurship and probably dogs and fishing and Bigfoot before we're all over with.
There it is.
Where are you on the where are you on Bigfoot?
I'm a maybe.
You're a maybe?
Yeah.
We'll introduce our guest here in a minute, Micah Pope. But Micah, where are you on Bigfoot before we get this show started?
I believe people are seeing something.
Oh,
What it is, I'm not sure.
Okay, I was at a party at one of our Bong members' houses with you, and I think people were seeing something. See, I can't say that live, so we'll have that discussion later. But we're here to talk about those issues that are interesting. And this whole thing originated from a group called the Tulsa Business Owners Networking Group. Unfortunately, the initials are B.O.N.G, B-O-N-G. And as it turns out, B.O.N.G is a drug thing where people store their drugs.
Yeah, that's a technical term, drug thing.
Drug thing, yeah. And I'm sorry I missed out on the B.O.N.G. And so some of our B.O.N.G members got together and showed me one. And it was like it was an incense deal, as it turns out. It was burning and smoking. And anyway, we all ate Twinkies afterward. It was pretty awesome.
Wow.
Anyway, we're glad everybody's here today.
So one of those things we do in post?
Yeah, well, no, we'll just leave that. I think that is fascinating. Anyway, we're glad you're here today. We have a great guest here today that we're excited to visit with. But before we do that, I want to reach out to my good friend here, Mr. Kenneth Bauckham. Kenneth, welcome to Cashflows, and answer that eternal question that the whole world is asking. What's a guy like you doing in a nice place like this?
Well, I appreciate that, Cash. Thank you for the warm welcome. I'm actually on a secret mission today to find the world's best chocolate chip cookie. Shh. It's a secret mission.
And we're here with one of Tulsa's favorite chefs.
Ooh, yes, we are.
Maybe she answers that question for us today.
We'll see.
You never know.
Like when you growing up, like, man, I was a Chips Ahoy kid. I didn't know there was anything else.
Oh yeah, I would take any cookie that was offered.
Right.
So I would eat Chips Ahoy, but no, I like a good warm chocolate chip cookie, a little soft in the center.
You ever hear of that store? God, we always call it needless markup. Neiman Marcus.
Yeah.
They had this cookie recipe. It wasn't online because I don't think online existed, but they had this famous cookie recipe that apparently one of their cookie chefs got angry and left and distributed the cookie recipe around the world. And I don't think it brought the downfall of Neiman Marcus, but I actually had some of those needless markup chocolate chip cookie secret recipe. And I'm not going to lie, those were pretty good. It'd be nice if our listeners could email us, their favorite cookie recipe. I would love to see that. That would be nice.
Maybe we'd have to have an email address for it.
We'll start with that.
Let's do that.
But I like the concept of chocolate chip cookie. So we'll talk about anything of value today. Bigfoot, chocolate chip cookies, bass fishing, but mostly about business. And the goal of Cashflows, if you see on the sign behind us, and it's just a philosophy that we live by, and it is fire, aim, ready. And too many people in this world, Kenneth, go around and they have these great ideas. Mm-hmm. They have these wonderful thoughts, these magnificent goals, this wonderful imagination, and they never pull the trigger on it.
Uh-oh.
And I've always been that guy, and I think probably like you to some degree. It is fire, aim, ready. Yeah. And, we think that doing, one of my favorite books that I've shared all my business career for 42 years is Think and Grow Rich. Yeah. And I may want to amend that to Do and Grow Rich, because I think there's a beauty in something just getting started and then done, even imperfectly. I think done is way better than a perfect nothing.
Yeah.
And so we support that, and we love to talk to people on the Cashflow show that are like that. And so with that, we're going to introduce our guest, one of my favorite people literally in the world. comes to us today here, lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma, has a 13-year-old son named Miles. And in this Bong event that we have, today we'll be visiting with the 2022 MVP, Most Valuable Person of the Bong, Miss Micah Pope. Micah, say hello to everybody.
Hello. Thank you for that warm introduction. I appreciate that.
That's what Kenneth wrote that down for me. I didn't know what he meant by it. But
Thanks, Kenneth. Appreciate it.
we're totally scripted here.
Absolutely. 100%.
Question 1. Do you like food? No, I'm just kidding. That's
Yes, I do.
that is not our deal. Micah, so you and I have become friends over the last year and a half.
Yeah.
And for those that want to get to know Micah, like I want to encourage you, get her phone number, call her at 7:05 a.m. She's not much of an early riser.
918-555-1234.
One of my best moments ever, I was driving off somewhere about an hour away, and I called Micah right at 7:05. I'm like, hey, did I wake you up? And she's like, no, the phone did. And you get a different conversation with Micah when you reach her early in the morning. So I want to, if there's 1,000 of you watching, please, let's get 1,000 phone calls into Micah's number here.
That number, once again, is 918-555-1234.
So, Micah, we met through this group called the Bong.
We did.
And you have one of the most unusual stories about joining the Bong. And we want to, before we get into getting to know more about you, we want to know more about how you found the Bong and what it's meant to you. And I know you've got some other spots in our talk today, but tell us about meeting each other and what that was like. Tell us your famous Micah story.
Yeah. So I was invited by Do.N, and most of y'all know the amazing Do.N. And she invited me to the Facebook group, Bong. And I was like, okay, cool. If Chen endorses it, I'm going to check it out. And jumped in there. And within 23 minutes of joining, this crazy Cash Matthews person who has no profile picture, mind you, reaches out to me and says, hey, welcome to this group. You want to come over and have breakfast with me and walk? I said, absolutely not, you weird creeper. And I was like, what did Chen invite me to? Like, what is this? And so I go back to the group, and I had never really looked at it yet because I had only been joined for 23 minutes. And I start scrolling through, and I see people posting about this net walking thing happening. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a real thing. People are excited about it. They're talking about it. I was like, yeah. I was like, okay, I guess I can go. And again, like Cash says, I'm not a huge morning person, especially back then. I was not at all a morning person. And so I get up at 7 or 7:30 to pull myself out of bed and go meet Cash Matthews. And mind you, I don't know if this is a man, if it's a woman.
Now, before we go any further, you thought I was a creeper, and you showed up to the event.
That is true. After I verified that you weren't gonna chop me up and put me in your freezer. So, I mean, at least I verified that much. And so I knock on the door. And Cash Matthews, this man, just absolutely swings open the door and screams at the top of his lung, good morning, I'm Cash Matthews. And I was like, oh my dear Jesus, what did I get myself into?
Kenneth, I think you had that same reaction, right?
It was pretty close, yeah.
And that was my very first event. That was June, our net walking event in June of last year, because I joined May 31st, so I got involved very quickly. I held up his couch the whole entire time I was at his house and didn't hardly speak to anybody, watched everything that was going on, and was like, I'm not sure what I think about this. And I left after, about an hour?
You're there about 52 minutes.
So I had to leave and process everything that had just happened.
But it seemed like it worked out for you.
Apparently it did. And I mean...
So tell our listeners a little bit about your experience with the Bong and what it's been like for you. I'm going to move this mic up just a little bit on you.
Okay.
And I like that sound also.
So it's been an amazing experience for me. People always ask me how I just got involved with Bong, and I said I never asked permission. I just jumped in and found where to get involved, and then I just did it. And that was, I think, a key turning point for me, is just finding my spot and running with it. I met some incredible people, obviously, like Cash Matthews and Katie Matthews, and even Kenneth over here. Absolutely love all the different people I've met. I actually had somebody stop me in the store last night and was like, Micah? And I was like, oh God, am I supposed to know this person? And I did not know this person. Comes out to find she recognized me from Bong. And
Wow.
She was really excited to meet me in person, and we set up a one-on-one, and we're going to be getting together later. But yeah, it's just been such an incredible experience to find people that get what you're going through. if you're an entrepreneur, you know that it is not your typical 9 to 5. There's so much more that we
True.
do. And when you try to explain what's going on in your life to somebody that just has that 9 to 5 job, they just don't understand it. So to be able to walk in and be with this huge group of people that all understood what I was going through, how hard I was working, the ups and the downs, the days that I wanted to quit, the days that I thought, oh my God, I can rule the world, was just awesome to connect with those similar
Now,
people.
I know you've had some recognition in the Bong.
I
Would
have.
you be willing to share with us how your peers voted you?
Well, apparently I've been voted Entrepreneur of the Month was
Ooh, okay.
August of 2022. That was my first official Bong Live full event. I was only able to get a taste of it in July because I had a cater. It was on a Wednesday when it was typically supposed to be on Tuesdays because of July 4th. And so I was only able to come for about 30 or 45 minutes. I remember even asking you, Cash, said, is it even worth my time to show up? And he said, absolutely, just show up. And that was one of the first things that Cash told me, and he continues to tell me, is just show up.
Just show up, man. That's right.
And that's what
And so you were voted the MVP of the entire Bong group.
I did. I got that at our prom, and
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah, talk real quick about the prom last year. We had a good time, right?
Oh, it was actually this year. That's what I keep
Oh, that's
saying.
right. It is this year. That's right.
Whoa.
I
Yeah.
keep saying last year too, but it won't be long, and it will be last year. Our prom was actually my very first prom to attend. It was just an incredible experience to be able to have, just like the experience to be able to go to a prom. And I took myself essentially, and I was proud of that, to be able to go and just enjoy that experience with so many people that I have come to know and call friends. And it was just so much fun, but it's also our awards banquet. And I thought that was just an incredible time to honor other people and recognize them for all the things that they're doing within their own personal lives and their business. And it was just a really amazing time to be with.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the 2020. So that'll be in 2024.
2024.
January
Bong.
20th, 2024.
Yeah.
We're doing the prom again.
Yeah, we're only a month away.
Oh my goodness!
I
Don't tell me that. That's a
Whoa.
little bit freaky for me right there.
Whoa.
Okay.
I know.
Well, Micah, we want to talk about your business as well. We know
Okay.
a little bit about you and your family, and
Mhm.
we're just delighted by you. And
Thank
you're one of the. Actually, let's do one more topic before we get going.
Okay.
But, because you run an event the size that we are,
Mhm.
and you have the success that we've had, and you've been a giant part of that. It's not an accident that you are the MVP. You've helped build this group.
Mhm.
But there are always others out there that will say, say stuff like, "Oh, the Bong it's a clique."
Mhm.
But you said something a minute ago. You just kind of showed up and started.
Yeah. I didn't ask permission. I didn't try to go rub shoulders with the right people. I just jumped in and ran with it, and people noticed that. And I think a lot of other people did the same thing. And those that realized, hey, this is something that we can do, and we can all just get involved wherever we want to, however we want to, those are the ones that got noticed, not because we're in a clique or we like each other more. It's just we
Mhm.
were like-minded and we ran together.
Yeah. Do you think that opportunity then is still available for somebody that joins this afternoon?
Absolutely. It's available to anybody. If they will put the effort in, they will receive the effort.
Yeah, we've
I
had
mean,
so many newish members come along and make an impact, and
Mhm.
guys like Steve Swenny who
Yeah,
just joined
love
a
Steve.
few weeks ago, and Kenneth is relatively new, and
Mhm.
John Killingsworth. We've had a lot of great people in the last year.
Bilal.
Bilal, yeah,
Yeah,
man,
he's a great
Bilal's.
example.
I mean, we've had so many wonderful people join this group,
Absolutely.
and that's what astonishes me is like when I get to stand back and just look at the people.
Mhm.
And it's not just the businesses. Business comes and goes, but man, these people that Kenneth, they love one another.
Mhm.
They've got each other's back. I've never, I know, I realize that we started the Bong, but the Tulsa community built the Bong,
Absolutely.
and I'm along for the ride. And you've kind of been the conductor to a great degree. So thank you for that, Micah Pope. Well, let's talk about your business. Give us the full name,
Miss Micah's Kitchen.
Miss Micah's Kitchen.
Yes.
And how long have you been doing Miss Micah's Kitchen? How long has that been in existence?
So what I'm doing now officially opened March of 2022.
Okay.
So the idea was created back in around April of 2017 and got started with it, but the real actual Miss Micah's Kitchen company is almost 2 years old.
Got it. Okay. Now, so what do you? How did you get on the path? What was there a moment where you went, "Hey, I cook"?
So it actually started, which a lot of people don't realize, it started with spices. even started with
Oh,
cooking.
okay. Ooh, you were
So
the original Spice Girl.
yeah, something like that.
You want to sing a little?
No, I do not. Thank you. So my dad worked for an electrical contracting company, and as you can imagine, the majority of the employees were men,
Right.
and they had a employee appreciation day, and the only, I believe, female at the time that was an employee there was a receptionist, and all the guys, they were doing a paintball party. All the guys wanted to play paintball, but they were going to grill hamburgers and hot dogs and do things for the guys that day, and they all went, well, I'm not grilling. And they asked the receptionist lady, and she goes, I'm not grilling. So my dad calls me. He said, hey, he's like, would you be able to man the grill for the day? And I said, well, yeah, I guess, and I always think about how I was able to, because at that point in time, I think I was still working in the food industry as a manager, and that was a Saturday. How did I have a Saturday off?
Wow.
So
Mm.
it was just one of those meant to be God ordained events. And
So you start working at your dad's office party.
I did. I went to it was an outdoors event. It was like I said, it was summertime, so it was perfect weather, and I just started grilling. And the whole thing that happened is I had created a spice blend for myself that I used just for my personal use at home,
Mm.
and I took it with me because I knew they were not going to have any kind of quality food there, and they didn't. They just had frozen hamburgers from Sam's, and so I started putting my spice on everything. And all the guys kept coming back up and going, oh my God, this is one of the best burgers I've ever had.
Wow.
Like, what spice rub did you use? And I said, oh, I just brought my own. And they said, okay, well, where do we buy it from? I said, you don't. I said, I just brought my own. I just created it at the house, and I use it for my own personal use. And they said, well, you should start making this. And I said, well, that's a stupid idea. And I said, I'm not going to create a spice blend. Like, how do you even do that?
Right.
And but they kept asking my dad it was months down the road that they still were like.
So you went in the spice business, and your spices have been out in the community for a little while.
Yep. So my spices have been out in the community probably since about 2018.
Okay,
And that's how I got started.
We'll make sure we call that out here at the end when
Sure.
when the time is right. So you're Miss Micah's kitchen.
Mhm.
You cook things,
Now I cook things.
and I don't know if you know this, but almost everybody on the planet eats.
I
Pretty
learned
close.
that.
You know, from a business standpoint, it's pretty smart. Food, clothing, and shelter.
Yeah, there it is. Top
And-
3.
Yeah, you're definitely in the top 3. So that's pretty cool. So do you have a favorite thing you like to make?
That's one of my number one questions that I get asked, and I really truly don't. I just cook what others want, and when somebody really enjoys my food, that gives me the pleasure in that. So
Yeah, I disagree. That's your food has been described as crack.
yes, that's true.
In a good way.
Yes.
Well, the good kind of crack.
The good kind of crack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unrelated to the bong.
You we sell crack at the Bong. Yeah, this is
That's
this
different.
Just,
We're
yeah,
going downhill now.
Yeah, we did. So you make a thing called cranberry crack.
I do.
That's around Christmas time.
It can truly be any time, but yes, it's most popular around Christmas time.
Like it. Okay, you don't have to describe it, but I have been one to partake in the cranberry,
You have.
the aforementioned cranberry. That is phenomenal. So
Thank you.
Kenneth and I just wanted to know, did you bring any?
You know what? Actually made a whole batch yesterday, but it was for a client, so all of it went to him.
Okay, well, here's the shortest interview ever. Have a good day. Thank you, Micah,
All
for coming.
right. Wow, that is the shortest one. Man, 18
Okay.
minutes.
I mean, the stuff you cook is great.
Thank you.
Like, and that's, so the crack though, man, that's something. So what was you had to have a moment in your career, because I know you've coached a lot of other people on how to cook or start a cooking business or be a cater person. Did you have a moment where you went, hey, I'm actually good at this. I'm going to share this with people that, that I can not just build your business, but create a legacy for who you are. But what was your moment where that came to life?
So I did. I had a lot of people reaching out for me, or to me specifically from new Bong members. Saw that, hey, this girl's active. She's got a good food business. That's what I'm trying to do. How do I get started? Let me ask her. And so I gave a lot of information to a lot of different people, and they were able to take that information and do something with it. A lot of them didn't run with it like they could have. But I did have a lady that reached out to me. She was one of a new Bong member at the time named Jessica Kinnan. And she reached out to me, and that was my aha moment, because we sat down. I gave her all the information that I had, just literally laid it out for her as simple as it could be. Gave her contact information, the licensing you needed, everything. And within 2 weeks, she had a fully operating, licensed, and insured catering business. And that's when I went, oh my gosh, like I can do this. And
Wow.
people, this is really valuable information. And that's when I started my consulting services.
Wow. Okay, so you can consult with somebody that's wanting to start a business.
hmm
Now, do people do those from their homes? Do they require a commercial kitchen?
It depends.
Can anybody start a food business?
Yes, but there are a lot of different regulations and policies. It depends. There's what's called the Food Freedom Act here in Oklahoma and other states. A lot of them are understood as the cottage laws. So there are things that Oklahoma allows out of your home to do. There are other things that you have to be licensed out of a commercial kitchen in order to offer.
I did not know that.
There we go.
All right. Okay, so we're gonna dig in a little bit here, and you know, if you could if you could prepare a meal one more time,
hmm
anybody alive or not alive, just one person, who would you cook for, and what would you make?
100% would be my dad.
Yeah,
hmm So this month actually has been 3 years since he passed.
right.
And there's just not one thing that I can think of off the top of my head that I would make for him. I would literally have to create a buffet because
Yeah,
there's so much stuff that I've created over these last 3 years.
and there would be leftovers, right?
I don't know. He ate a lot.
Oh.
He was really good at eating. He was my official taste tester. So
So he got to see you start your business.
no, actually, he got to see this spices side of things, but he didn't really
Well,
get to.
he saw that though.
Yeah, he got to see that aspect of it, and I think he probably saw more of what was in me than I did at the time. So I think he knew.
I think
what was to come.
often I think that's the role of the parent is to see what's in their children,
Mm-hmm. He
and
definitely did.
I say that in like it's the reason that we're building the Bong up. We're not investing in people for where they are. The Bong is about investing in people for where they're going to be in 5 or 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
And I bet your dad saw that in you,
Absolutely, he did.
and especially because you rock the did all the work cooking for his company, right?
Yeah, and he was
Hang on, did you get paid for that?
absolutely not. No,
First gig, 0-1.
yeah, volunteer.
All right. So what? Some people are passionate about food,
hmm
and that's some of us eat just because we enjoy. But where did you find passion in food? How do you relate those two?
For me, food is a love language. So not only can it be quality time together, it can be a gift. It can be an act of service. And if I take the time to reach out to you and say, "Hey, I want to cook for you," that really is something special. That I'm taking my time, I'm taking my skill, I'm taking truly my love to show to others that I really care about you because I'm going to make something special for you.
So that's your love language of giving. I mean, that's
That
part
is
of your
a big part of it.
acts of service, acts of giving.
Yes.
Yeah, you and I are going to be friends forever. That is the most perfect gift that you can have. And with that, we're going to talk about the gifts from our sponsors today. Mr. Kenneth,
Oh, we got some great sponsors.
light us up.
We'll do it. All right, so we do have some great sponsors today to talk about. So before we dive back into today's episode, let's make those shout outs happen. This podcast is coming to you from the studio at Elevate Coworking. Our signage is provided by CM Customs, and it features, as our podcast does, amazing entrepreneurs from the Tulsa Business Owners Networking Group. We're also sponsored by MFP, My Financial Plan, on the World Wide Web at joinmfp.com. And this show is produced by the audio-video expert you're hearing now at Kenneth Bauckham Photography. With these folks in mind, let's go back to our podcast.
All right, we're here today with Micah Pope, the MVP of the Tulsa Business Owners Networking Group. 5,500 entrepreneurs banded together, linked arm in arm, and you, Micah Pope, are the MVP of that group. And an inside source says you might be in the running for the following year's MVP, and that maybe we went to CM Customs and bought 20 plaques for the next 20 years.
It's possible.
It would be doubtful that somebody would surpass your impact. And anyway, well, Micah, there are things that you do regularly as a habit, that help you become successful, on a business level, on a personal level, on a mom level. What are some of the things that you do that you've learned in the process? And this is important because we've got a lot of people watching and listening to this, and our goal is to lift each other up. But I think your experiences in growing a business and having to pivot midway through, tell us what you've had to do that have really helped you become more successful.
I think the things that have impacted me the most are setting boundaries and
Okay.
actually sticking to them. So it's okay to say no. I think as entrepreneurs, we don't feel like that's a word that we're allowed to have in our vocabulary. And it's actually one of the most important words we need in our vocabulary. And by setting boundaries, you also help understand your worth. And that's
Yeah,
been
I
really,
like
really
that.
key for me. Um, Block scheduling has been so important for me. Is I have people pulling me 100 different directions all the time. And by using those boundaries, but also using that block scheduling, I can really utilize my time best.
So,
Um,
give us a definition of block scheduling.
so some people go as far as literally blocking off every 30 minutes to an hour and putting that on their schedule of what they're doing with that, even if adding into there that they're taking a shower from this time to this time, they're exercising from this time to this time, they're spending the time with their kid from this time to this time. I'm not quite that rigid with it. I'm a little more flexible because my life just requires a lot of flexibility. Being a single mom to my 13-year-old son, who's, I'm telling you, 13's a fun year. Um, it's been really key for me to be flexible in that block scheduling to where I can move blocks around if I need to. But it's been so key in my growth.
So, do you block time out and say this time is non-negotiable?
Some things I do, yes.
Yeah. What like that's what Kenneth. That's one of the things I do is I start my schedule at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I am not meeting at 9. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if I do, there's a purpose behind it. But by and large, I guess I'm already doing block scheduling because
Mm-hmm.
every day for the next year, I've got 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. That's my time,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when I play with the dogs and the people and
Yep.
do whatever it is I do.
Yep, absolutely. And
Okay. So what else? Anything else?
I definitely contribute to a lot of, well, not a lot of it, all of my success to just God and listening to Him and
Mhm.
being open and sensitive to His voice and giving in the direction that He wants me to go.
Man, that's we could go a while on that. We don't have that much time today, but I love to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that you have been open to God's leading in your life,
Absolutely.
and that you've given me a ringside seat, man. I appreciate that. Mike, I always I tell my kids this, that God loves me just the way I am. I mean, God loves me just how I am,
Hmm.
but He loves me too much to leave me that way,
Yeah.
and that we all have to be open to. It's not like God is punishing us. I believe He's directing us in a particular way,
Mm-hmm.
and that there is a purpose in the pain sometimes.
Absolutely. If it God gives us so many opportunities to learn and grow. And so much of the time, something I've been realizing lately is people want to view that as a tax. And they're like, oh, the devil's after me. And I'm like, actually, it's God giving you the opportunity to grow right now. And you're not
Yeah, a
seeing
lot
that.
of people claim things are of the devil, and it's really just
Mm-hmm.
God poking them on the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Absolutely.
and I wanted to ask you about this pivot that you made, because you started as a caterer,
I did. You're
and
right.
and now you're moving more towards personal chef services and
So
things of that nature. I mean, what was that like when you went, man, I've been on this path and now I'm turning left?
it was incredibly scary. It was really uncomfortable. It definitely challenged me to grow. It absolutely challenged my faith and trust in God. I Everything started out this year like it was perfect, and everything looked like it was just going to be the most amazing year. And like there were just no questions of how everything was going to go. And then all of a sudden, about February, it fell apart, and all my plans were no longer plans. And I was like, "What am I going to do?" And the kitchen that I had that I was working out of was no longer an option as of March. So I was like, "Well, I got to make decisions by March." Well, March came and went, and I was like, "Well, I no longer have the kitchen, so I can't advertise myself as an actual licensed caterer." And I was like, "I got to make some changes." But I didn't know what those changes looked like. I mean, it was definitely moments of panic. So I took the time. This is where those boundaries and block scheduling come into play, and listening to the Lord. I just took a weekend to myself, and I got out of town, and I rented a little cabin that had no TV, nothing in it. And I just said, Lord, I'm going to get before you, and I'm just going to be quiet. I'm not even going to ask questions. I'm just going to be quiet so I can see what you have to say.
Be still and know that I am
Oh
God.
man. And
Yeah.
that's what I did. And it
Beautiful.
changed everything. I literally came back with answers and just peace and understanding that, like, okay, it's all going to be okay. Like, it's it's not me that I have to lean on. It's not my own understanding. It's just like, hey, God, this is you. Like, you told me that you're going to be here for me, that you're going to make it all work. And all I have to do is put it into action. I had
Wow.
to be the one that put the effort in, and I did.
But
And that's when he gave me the idea for private chef services. And I started really going that direction. And it took off really quickly.
so what right now, the Bong being 5,500 members, would be 10,000 members before July.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to those entrepreneurs who hit that same brick wall that you hit? Like, if you could just give them one sentence about what to do, because I don't know, Kenneth. We see in our walk and in these interviews people that have hit a brick wall,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just trying to find a way around it, or over it, or under it, or through it. And
Yeah. Sometimes I think number one, just not giving up. But sometimes, like especially again with entrepreneurs, we're going 100 miles an hour all the time. There's 5 million thoughts in our head all the time. Sometimes you just have to stop and get quiet.
when you said that a moment ago, I had a deep emotional connection to what you say, because there have been times in my career, the best moments were where I went and checked into a hotel or whatever and just did nothing.
Exactly.
And I'm pretty good at doing nothing, as it turns out. I didn't realize that's a skill set, but that phrase, "be still and know that I am God,"
Yeah.
that moment, and to be able to watch you, closely, and watch you walk in your faith, man, that was a big deal to me.
Thank you.
And so I'm pretty excited. I know that a bunch of us are going to go have some downtime at the end of January together. There's a dozen of us going to just chill out for
I'm looking
several
forward to that.
days down in Broken Bow. We're really looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
So, all right, well, let's move on. If you didn't have to work, money's no object. You have all your toys. You got enough money walking in the door. How would you spend your time?
I think I would honestly spend my time traveling. I want to just travel more, just even road trips, just go different places, new places, go to these little towns, check out all the little shops, whether it's with friends or not. I mean, everything with friends makes things better, obviously. But I would love to do that, and I would do a lot more of that. I would write. I have a lot of people ask me when I'm writing my book, and I'm like,
We're hosting a class on how to write a book in February.
I have not heard about that.
Well, I have not told you about it.
No,
I wanted to save it till this exact moment. Come to the seminar, How to Write a Book.
I will be signing up.
Oh, I didn't have the commercial music ready for you.
Oh, sorry. We'll get back to that. So we've traveled together. We went on a cruise together, went to Mexico together, had a blast together, had a good time with Miles, messing with him on the acrobatic trapeze, death-defying artist.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed
Good
that.
stuff.
I regret some of the things I said. Like, yeah, you need to stand 20 feet back. These guys are going to splat. There's no way they survive this. Yeah. Anyway, that was fun. Where would you, if you could pick one spot to go to today, all expenses paid, on a 2-day road trip, where would you go?
Road.
I don't know, road trip, plane trip.
Like I can't go to some places in just a day. So, a road trip. Honestly, I mean, I would love to visit, like Maryland, that area, especially right now with the
Oh, man, I love
weather
it up
and
there.
yeah, I would love to go just see. I've never been to any of that area, and I would love to, or somewhere in the South. I love the South. Georgia was one of my favorite places. So,
Very cool. Okay, maybe that'll happen for you this year. So this is not on our script, but you've been a Bong member. You pivoted. Everything changed. Like, it all changed for you. And you and I talk about numbers a lot. And I know that your revenue, your income, whatever the word we want to use, but your numbers are up. Is that something you would be comfortable sharing?
I am fine with sharing that. So, I did do my numbers slightly wrong. I found out. I think I originally thought that it was about almost 1,000% increase, and right now I'm at about 700% increase. But still,
Oh, you missed it. Oh, wow.
I missed a little
That's
bit.
so awful.
I'm sorry.
My
I mean,
account's only up 700%, not
Yeah.
1,000%. Oh my goodness. Well,
So-
we'll get a committee to come and do a food group thing or a food truck for you or something. So pretty awful.
But yeah.
So your revenue's up 700% this
700%.
last year.
Yes.
A lot of that's coming from the Bong Group.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. And just networking in general, which Bong taught me a lot about networking. In my first year in business, I just spent a lot of time getting out there and building my name, because food businesses don't network. It's one thing I noticed, and I'm
Yeah.
like, get out there, and I am my business. So people started recognizing me and my name, and that just built my business to such a massive importance just being able to know, hey, I know the owner behind that.
Mhm.
And then
Okay.
my second year is when I really switched from not working to working more,
Yeah.
and really built the business and grew that
Yeah,
700%.
it's impressive to watch, and we wish you the very best in the years to come.
Thank you.
So, tell our listeners one thing about you that they probably wouldn't know unless you told them.
Um, just truly the amount of obstacles that I've had to overcome.
Yeah.
In my personal life, in my business life, I've had to shut down Miss Micah's Kitchen, I think 3 times and since 2017 due to personal obstacles that came about. But each time I fought whatever it was, I overcame it and I came back.
Yeah. What happens there? That's where you go get away, get quiet, write everything down.
So it really depends on the severity of the obstacle. There was 2 different times that I literally had to take a year off, and I just laid low for a year. The first time was 2018. I had a massive life change event, and the stress of it just really affected my body. I had a major medical issue come up from it, and I basically was bedridden for a year. And as I knew that was not my life. That's not what I wanted. I was like, okay, I know I'm laying in bed, but one way or another, I'm going to figure out how to fight this. And I did. I fought it, and I got rid of the people that were holding me back in my life.
Yeah. Sometimes you got a lot of those people in your life. They're like rocket boosters.
Yeah.
Rocket boosters are designed to get the rocket going,
Mhm.
but they are not designed to go where the rocket's going. And a lot of these
That's so
people
true.
in your life are not designed to go
Mhm.
where you're going.
Nope, they
And
were
it-
not. And
Yeah. Shed that weight and keep going.
Yeah, and it's neat to see you do that. Well, Micah, you're a passionate person, and I know your faith in God, and you love your family, and you love your friends, um, and you're passionate about food.
mhm.
I think that's a beautiful thing. One of the things that I think is unique about our group is we really love connecting.
Mhm.
And there's other than coffee, man, food is one of the great things that we can connect to
Absolutely.
universally.
Absolutely.
And we're
Mhm.
so blessed in this country to have just plenty,
Yep.
and I love that you bring that passion to the table. So
Thank
talk
you.
about your tribe. I know Regina
Mhm.
LeBlanc started talking about this word tribe, and
Yep. Absolutely.
I don't
Oh,
have
it's not on your shirt right
I don't
now.
have the word tribe on here, but imagine it if you would.
Yeah.
Talk to us about finding your tribe and what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had been, like you mentioned, I had people in my life that were absolutely necessary at that time and point in my life, but I kept outgrowing them. And so one of the times that I got quiet and I got before God was I just said, hey, I said, this is what I need. I need my tribe. I need my community. But I said, bring me a community I can't outgrow. Bring me a community that has enough people in it that they're all from the beginners all the way to the experts. And I can be a blessing to others, but I can be blessed as well in it. And Bong showed up, and I was like, "What is this?" Like, even though it seems kind of creepy.
Well,
um,
so I think there's a life lesson in that, and I think it was supposed to be that way
Absolutely.
because often people see something and they react
mhm,
based on the limited amount of knowledge they may have.
mhm,
And the same thing you did, and I'm pretty sure I would have done the same thing. Yeah, hey, it's me. I don't have a picture up. You want to come over to my house and go for a walk and have breakfast? Yeah, that sounds a little creepy. It doesn't sound as good when I say it out loud. But that you had that reaction, but you also continue to evaluate. I think a lot of people reject the answer that they've prayed for
yes,
because they're reactive, not proactive. Would you
ab-
agree with that?
absolutely.
I mean, you've seen that in your life where people are like, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah,
I think, I don't know. I've been around business people all my adult life. And I think the two most destructive words a person can use is I know. And I've
so true.
counseled people and I've counseled entrepreneurs. And when you start to see people that are there, and it's not that they're know-it-alls, but I think a lot of people are walking around kind of hurt,
Mhm,
kind of afraid. And when you're hurt and or afraid,
mhm,
like when an animal is hurt, even if you love them and you try to pet them where it hurts, they're going to bite you.
mhm,
Mhm.
And I think people do that, Kenneth, most often when they see an opportunity, when they see a moment for change, when somebody who just cares about them gives them good advice. I think so often, if you say like, hey, don't eat yellow snow. And they're like, I know. And they're sitting there with a yellow snow yellow snow cone.
Snow cone, yep.
Yeah, and you're like, oh man, I don't think you want to be doing that.
You have to get out of your comfort zone, and it's obviously very uncomfortable to do that. And as much as we want to grow, so many of them aren't willing to pay the price of discomfort.
Boy,
And
that is, if you're listening to this podcast today with Miss Micah's Kitchen, you need to write that one down. People are just afraid to be so you got comfortable being uncomfortable.
I made a promise to myself back in, I think it was 2020. I said, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to be uncomfortable. And if it scares me, if it makes me uncomfortable, I'm going to do it. And I actually started with jujitsu. And my son was
Whoa.
in jujitsu, and I had the opportunity to do an adult class. And I was like, oh my God, this is so uncomfortable. And then I realized, okay, that's where I'm going to start with. And I literally drove to my first class with like white knuckled, literally thought I was going to puke in the car. I was so nervous and so upset. And I was like, what have you done? And I got through my first class, and my first class was just not that big of a deal. And I went, huh, I can do that. That's just not that big of a deal. And
you did it anyway.
I did it anyways.
I get a kick out of jujitsu.
Ba-dum-tsh.
Okay, sorry. This is the show. This is what we do.
It's a hit.
Oh man, do they serve punch there?
I believe that they do.
Wow.
That's terrible. All right, Micah, we're going to wrap up with a golden nugget. And you may have already given it to everybody, but I'd like you to repeat it. Like if you could give one great piece of advice to our listeners today.
Just simply don't quit. No matter how tough it gets, no matter how many obstacles are in your way, just keep fighting and don't quit.
I think that's good advice. Our guest today, Micah Pope with Miss Micah's Kitchen. She cooks things and she makes them delicious. And she's one of the top connected people in Tulsa, single-handedly helped develop this idea of the Business Owners Networking Group into something substantial. And the MVP of our group, Micah, thank you for being here today. Let me lead us out of here, Kenneth, with some encouragement. We're glad you stopped by today. Today? Man, did I just come from Australia?
You may have, mate.
I'm going to put a shrimp on the Barbie. That made my daughter furious when I put a shrimp on the Barbie. Never mind.
Right. Or Barbie on the shrimp.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, we're glad you're here today. Thank you for stopping by and having a little bit of time with Miss Micah for Miss Micah's Kitchen. And we hope this is valuable to you today. If you'd like to reach out to us, all of us are on Facebook. And thanks again to our sponsors today. And until our next show, our next riveting show, we hope you'll make good choices, make friends with each other, forgive one another, and go out and have a magnificent day. And I want to say goodnight to all of our listeners, or good day to all of our listeners down in Shawnee, Oklahoma, where I was born, and to the three of you that always show up and like my posts on Facebook. Hey, man, I'm heading over to Quick Trip. Y'all need anything?
That's our show for today. Stay tuned for another riveting edition of Cashflows.